What's up everybody, it's RobinGaming here. So the PS4 is already about 5 months old. It's pretty crazy how quickly the time flies, really. I mean, all the years leading up, with all the speculation and rumors to the PlayStation 4, to the actual announcement back in February of last year, and then that whole 8-month period between the announcement and the release of the system, and now it's already out for like 5 months. It's just crazy, like I said, how quickly the time flies. But that being said, I mean, my review for the PlayStation 4, I thought it was good to just take a good while, so 5 months now, really getting to play a lot on the console, try out different games and see how exactly everything works, so that I can give like a good judgment about the system itself. And I think now is the time to really do that. Now, I have to say that yes, I will be talking about the positive things, about the negative things regarding the system, but at the same time I do already want to start with some kind of general conclusion, and that is that people can make the argument that the game library isn't there yet, that they're still waiting for games like Uncharted 4 and that, those kinds of games that will inevitably come, and that right now there just isn't a lot to play. And I wouldn't argue with you. If you think that, then that's definitely a justified thought in my eyes. You could also make the argument that the PS4 isn't truly like a next-gen console in the way that the leap isn't really there as much as it was from PS1 to PS2 or PS2 to PS3. I once again wouldn't argue with you that PS4 isn't that much of a leap over the PlayStation 3. But at the same time, I have to say that, to be honest, last generation with the PlayStation 3, I kind of got bored of playing games at the end of the generation. 2012, 2013, even with games like GTA 5 and The Last of Us, I just couldn't bring myself to really play those games anymore. And that was because I was just kind of like tired of the system. I have to be very honest there. I mean, that's just what I felt about it. Everything seemed to get a little repetitive. Games didn't innovate much anymore, and yeah, I mean, the system itself was pretty outdated, right? If you compared it to, for example, the PC at that time, people would always complain how graphics would always be, much worse and stuff like that. And I think that's really what PS4 changed for me, is that I am enjoying playing games much more right now with my PlayStation 4 again. And that's the great thing about it. That's why the PS4 already is such a great device in my eyes. Even though, yes, I mean, it's an ever developing process where the PS4, when it comes out, is already a great system, but it's going to be much different and much better in about 2 years from now or something like that. And that's really what it is. So the PS4 you'll see in 5 years, when maybe the next console will already be announced, is so much different from the one that we've got now. But I already think it is a great system, and that is for the simple fact that I'm enjoying to play or just playing games much more right now, because everything is faster, everything looks better, it's a new console, it looks different, there's a new controller that is much improved. And yeah, I mean, that whole, just add all those things up together, and I think that you've got a fresh new package that was just a very welcome addition for me, who has been playing for so long on the PlayStation 3. So all in all, the PS4 is a great device. Now, let me just talk briefly about some plus points, some negative points, and I guess I should just start off with the pluses. These are just, I'm not going to be talking about everything in specific, like talk about all the features there are and stuff like that. Just the things that I really noticed and that I want to bring up. So yeah, first of all, I mean, the DualShock 4 controller. I of course have to start with that, because that's how you play your games, and it is a great controller. I have to say, to be honest, that in the first 1 to 2 months, I had a hard time adapting to it. I really thought that, yes, the DualShock 3 was a worse controller probably, but at the same time, I got really used to that. I have pretty big hands, and the DualShock 3 was always complained at for being this very small controller. But to be honest, when I first played with the DualShock 4 those first 1 to 2 months, I had a hard time really adapting to that. Like I said, it didn't really feel that comfortable in my eyes. Like, my hands started to hurt or something after playing for a pretty long time. And that's weird to say, right? But I think it was just because I was so used to the DualShock 3 that was really what it was about. But now that I've played for it for a longer time, a more extensive time, I think you know, it is really a good controller. That is definitely a huge improvement over the DualShock 3. The whole controller feels much less cheap, I would say, and certain features like share, you know, the share button, of course, are great. The light bar, I don't really see that much of a positive side in, and the same counts for the speakers, to be honest. But I think that the touchpad is something that really shouldn't be underestimated, and that definitely shows great potential for RPGs that will come up. Where, you know, I talked about this in a Greatness Debates video actually, but yeah, I really think that for example, some spells that you want to bind to certain buttons, but the controller simply doesn't have that many buttons, you could bind those to the touchpad, where you would simply have like 4 or maybe even more options to actually use certain spells really quickly or stuff like that. And the same, you know, can count for different games. It's just that developers need to find a great way to make use of the touchpad, and then I think it will prove to be a really good thing. So all in all, the DualShock 4 definitely a great thing. And the second thing I think is probably the most important one is how easy it is to use the user interface of the PS4 and how quickly everything goes. Like, I love how I can just like start up my game, for example Killzone. It will take literally less than 10 seconds to get into the game. I can just press the PS button, go to the PlayStation Store, or send a message to my friends instantly without having to wait for it to load. Whereas on the PlayStation 3, when playing Uncharted 3, I remember I would be in a lobby waiting for my next match, but I wanted to send a quick message to my friends. Hell, it would just take me so long to do that. Like the whole XMB had to load for minutes, and basically you would be done sending the message when the next game had already started. It was that bad, and I think that's really one of the great things about the PS4 is that everything is so instant. And you know, me buying all games digitally, I can just swap from playing one game to the other game instantly. Really, like it takes a couple of seconds, and I'm already in the next game. So yeah, that definitely is one of the strong points of the system. And then the games, I mean, I will mention, I actually have about 12 games right now. I will mention the 6 games I enjoyed the most on the PS4 right now. The first one is definitely Battlefield 4, which just shows the potential of this next gen console with its you know, 60 frames per second, which at first I thought wouldn't really be that much of an improvement. I thought 30 FPS would be, you know, pretty much fine to play our games, but now being so used to 60 FPS, it's something that I want every game to have, to be honest. The graphics look great, and of course 64 player battles. Now there's some technical issues there with that game, so you know, sometimes there will be a lot of lag and stuff like that. I really hope that, you know, DICE can manage to either, you know, fix that in the next Battlefield games or something like that. But 64, you know, players is definitely a great thing. Resogun, which was the game I really played in the first few months, was just awesome to play. So much fun. I totally did not see it coming, being free with PS Plus and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely one of the best games on the system right now. Infamous, talked a lot about that in the previous weeks. Really enjoyed that, but was a bit short, to be honest. And then the 3 games that already came out on PS3 but I had never played, and where they made different versions for the PS4, where first of all AC4, which I totally did not see coming how much of a comeback, you know, Assassin's Creed 4 would make for me. I really thought it was an amazing game, had a lot of fun playing that. Rayman, which is probably the most fun game on the PS4, just this great 2D platform. I really enjoyed it. And finally Tomb Raider, which looks a lot better on PS4, 60 FPS, much improved graphics. Yeah, all in all a great experience for people like me who love, you know, Uncharted and those kinds of games. Tomb Raider really adds to that. And finally, I also want to talk a bit about the negative things that stood out for me on the PS4. First of all, let's start off with the DualShock 4 controller. Now I have to say there aren't really that many negative sides, but on the DualShock 4 the battery life is definitely something that really disappointed me. Like what, 5 to 8 hours or something before your battery just already drains out completely and you gotta charge it again. I just think that's a bit of a shame. I wonder how much the light bar impacts that, but with the upcoming patch that will kind of like dim the light bar, I don't think you can turn it off, to be honest. I hope battery life will actually improve a lot more. And finally, what I really thought was a bad thing about the DualShock 4 controller is the joysticks, and by that I actually mean the quality of the rubber, because I'm not exactly sure if it's just a problem with some of the, you know, DualShock 4 controllers, whether that has to do with the factory they were produced in or something like that, but the DualShock 4 I got at launch with my PS4 actually started to really get some damaged analog sticks about 3 months in or something like that, and I actually had to replace it with some kind of like what's it called, like these rubber things you can put on it that actually serve as different, yeah, sort of like, actually they're called grips, I think, you know, that you can pretty much put on the joysticks. And I had to do that because the thing was so broken, like, I mean, it was unplayable, to be honest. And I even bought a second controller around at that time, and that actually already got damaged 3 weeks in or something like that. Had to buy those grips for that one as well. Really a bad thing. I hope Sony will fix this, because honestly I really see that as a really bad thing. I mean, that's not something to be proud about. It's really quite shameful, to be honest. It's really bad how that's the case. And finally, what really stood out for me as a negative point is also the way that the friends list and stuff like that has a hard time loading. And I mean, I added about 2,000 people now. You know, people could all add me on PSN if they wanted, and the friends list is just a chore to go through. You know, if I want to actually send a message to a certain friend and I look that friend up, it is undoable. I have to do it via the search function, and even when using that, it takes like 20 to 30 seconds for the system to actually find that friend. I don't know exactly why that is, but things like that. And also just when scrolling through your whole game library list a couple of times, you know, like going from left to right to left to right, sometimes the system just gets stuck, and when you actually turn it off, then it will actually crash. You will get the beep 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 noise, you know, that you could have on your PS3 as well. So basically it just crashes, and you know, things like that are just the small negative things that I really have about it. And of course there is features missing, like a music player and video player and stuff like that, but that will all be patched in. You know, I'm not necessarily worried about that, and that's really not why I'm using the system right now. So honestly, I'm not complaining about that yet. But these, like I said, I'm not talking about everything that the PS4 has to offer, but these were just the things that all basically stood out for me in terms of negative sides, positive sides. But I think that all in all, PS4 has a lot of promise. I'm already very happy with the system right now, and it just got me back into gaming, really. I mean, the games I've played right now, you know, Battlefield, Infamous, AC4, Rayman, were just great, and I had an amazing time playing those games. So all in all, it's already looking to be you know, a great time for me playing on my PS4, and I can't wait till the games like Mirror's Edge 2, Uncharted 4, Dragon Age Inquisition come out, that I'm really looking forward to. And then it's going to be, you know, one of the best times in gaming I will ever have, no doubt. So yeah, with that being said, of course, let me know all your thoughts on the PS4. Do you already have it, and what do you think of it so far? And if not, when are you looking to buy your next gen console? Which one is it going to be? Are you maybe not even planning to buy a PS4 at some time in the future? Just let me know all that kind of stuff in the comments. And then for now, I would like to thank you a lot for watching, and hope to see you again next time.